Alright, hey guys, it's Jack here from Peach Guitars, and we're continuing our series today on the Line 6 HX effects. Now last time, in the last couple of videos in this series, you may have seen we talked about HX Edit software from Line 6 and showed you just how easy it is to start crafting and manipulating your presets just using computer software. So what we're going to do now is expand on that theory. So we created our basic rig in the first couple of videos you may have seen, where I've just got 6 basic effects blocks in our chain. And now what we're going to do is start incorporating a couple of different outboard pieces of gear, specifically your amplifier's effects loop to run in 4-cable method, and also an external overdrive pedal. Okay, so let's deal with the first of those two things. We're going to talk about hooking your amplifier up in 4-cable method. So I've already attached the cables as required to the HX effects, so let me just walk you through really quickly how it's configured. So this first cable over here on the far left is coming out of our main output on the HX, and that's plugged into our amplifier's effects return. The next cable along is the main input to the HX, which is where my guitar is plugged in. And then these two over here are connected to effects loop 2 on the unit. So that's essentially where our amplifier preamp is going to be inserted into the unit. So this orange cable here, the return, is plugged into our amplifier's effects send. And this gold cable here, which is the send from the effects loop, is plugged into our amplifier's input. So I know that sounds a little bit confusing, but basically what we're doing is effects loop 2 has become the block that our amplifier's preamp can interface with the HX. So let me talk you through about how to start incorporating that into our signal chain now. So all we need to do, as we did for all these other blocks so far, is just insert it as a block. So we're going to come over to the empty space on our effects chain, come down to the drop down menu, and under the send and return section I'm going to add in effects loop number 2, double click that. Okay, so you can now hear our amplifier is active, the preamp is active. So if I play the guitar, you're going to hear the amp's straight tone into the drive channel of the Friedman amp. Okay, now you probably have noticed there's a ton of reverb there, and the reason for that is I've placed our amplifier's preamp right at the end of the chain. So all of the effects before it are running straight into the input of the amplifier. Now the benefit of 4-cable method is that you can place certain effects, specifically usually delays and reverbs, after your amplifier's preamp stage so that you can get distortion from your amp without your delay and reverb effects becoming distorted. So all we need to do really simply is move our effects loop block over in front of those effects that we want to add to the amplifier's effects loop. So what I'm going to do just before I do that is show you what the delay and the reverb sound like together plugged into the front of a dirty amplifier. So let's turn the delay on. I'm just going to play, so this is with everything running straight into the front end of the amp. Alright, so that is a pretty cool sound, but it's a little bit over the top for most people's needs. So like I said, I'm just going to move the effects loop block in front of the delay and the reverb, and now you're going to hear those effects are placed in the effects loop of the amplifier. Okay, so that's much more appropriate for the way people usually want to use their delay and reverb effects. So I hope that illustrates just how simple it is to start using your amplifier's effects loop with the HX effects. Okay guys, so now that we've used effects loop 2 on the HX to hook up our amplifier in 4-cable method, I want to use effects loop 1 to add in an external overdrive pedal. So all I need to do is exactly as we did before. I'm going to come over to an empty block space on the signal chain, and using the send and return section I'm going to add in effects loop 1 this time, which has got the Dude overdrive pedal in it. So as you can see, I've hooked it up to the send and return of effects loop 1 here, so I just need to add it into our chain. And I'm going to drag it across to the point in the chain I want to use it, which is essentially just here before our modulation effects. Now just a quick note on why you would want to put an external overdrive pedal into an effects loop rather than just before the HX input itself, is I now have full control over exactly where this pedal is going to go in my signal chain, and that's configurable per preset as well. So as I've just done there, I've placed it after my compressor and another overdrive pedal and before everything else. So using the effects loop in this way is really helpful to incorporate it exactly where you want in your signal chain. Okay, so before I play with that overdrive pedal, I'm just going to turn the loop off so you can hear the dry tone, and then I'm going to activate the loop, which is going to turn the pedal on into our signal chain. Okay, so as you can hear, I'm now on the clean channel of the Friedman amplifier as well. I'm going to turn on the effects loop so you're going to hear the overdrive pedal. Okay, great. So there's a couple of other really important benefits to using one of the effects loops blocks in this way as well. I now have control over both send and return gain levels for that effects loop. So that's a really loud overdrive pedal, for example. So I'm just going to knock back the output level by dropping the return slider here. Let's go for about -6 dB, and you can hear now the output level of the overdrive pedal is going to be dropped. Okay, so that's now going to be more in line with the dry tone when I turn the effects loop off. Okay, great. So now we've set up our signal chain pretty much as extensively as I wanted to. I'm using an outboard effects loop for our overdrive pedal right into the front end of our amplifier, and then the other effects loop is taken care of using the amp in 4-cable method. So the last thing I want to do to this preset now is assign effects loop 1, which has our overdrive pedal in it, to foot switch number 6. Now by default, the loop I added first was effects loop 2, so that's taken up the only available foot switch we had at the time here on foot switch 6. Now I never want to switch the amplifier's effects loop block on and off. Instead I want to use effects loop 1 with the overdrive pedal in it and turn that on and off using that foot switch. So that's really easy to change. I just need to select effects loop 1 with the overdrive pedal, come down here to the bypass and controller assign tab, and over here on the left you can see I've got a full list, kind of the menu of all the different things I have assigned to the foot switches. So I just need to remove effects loop 2 from foot switch 6 and instead add effects loop 1 with the overdrive pedal to that foot switch instead. So let me just right click here on effects loop 2. I'm going to clear that assignment, and now under effects loop 1 I want to add it to foot switch number 6 over here on the bypass tab. So I can drop that down. Now you can see that's added itself to foot switch number 6, effects loop 1. The last thing I want to do is just change the name so that I know that's my external overdrive pedal. So let's just change the name here to OD pedal, and I'm also going to change the color of it to red. Okay, job done. So that's nice and simple. I can now toggle my effects loop on and off with this switch, which means I never have to look or touch my external overdrive pedal, so I can turn it on and off just using this foot switch here. So let me just illustrate that really quickly. Okay guys, so I hope that was a really clear guide on how you can start using your effects loops on HX to both incorporate your amplifier's effects loop as well as outboard pieces of analog gear. Okay, so stay tuned to the rest of this video series too if you want to find out how to get even more out of your HX effects. So as always, thanks so much for watching guys. If you've enjoyed it, please give us a like below. You can comment down there with your thoughts and let us know what you'd like to know about any of the HX family of products from Line 6. So thanks for watching, stay tuned, and I'll see you next time.